Now we'll have Nick Deloiso, who is at Yahoo now. I'm going to have him on stage. Nick Deloiso. Hey, Nick.
Hey.
How are you?
Great, thank you, great.
Please.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I keep saying wrong things about how young you are. Can you tell me how young you are again? What's your age?
I turned 18 3 weeks ago.
So I say 19. See, I'm full of, like, I want to make you older because I feel bad about it. You just turned 19.
Yeah.
And just so for the room that might not know you very well, you are based in the UK, in London?
Yep, still based in London.
You started this business called Sumly?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, I created this iPhone application called Sumly. What Sumly did is it took long articles, news content that you would consume on your phone, and because there's a small screen, people don't like that user experience. And so we tried to build an algorithm that could take that content, automatically summarize it down into paragraphs, and make it far easier to read when you're on a phone.
What was the problem you were solving?
Well, for me, I was revising for exams, is how I initially came up with the idea. And the issue I had with the search engines at the time was it was very easy to press in and out of all these results, but it was very difficult to determine which result was actually relevant to you as a user. And so you spent a lot of time going back and forth until you finally, on like page 3 or whatever, came across the article you wanted. And then finally you went and read. And so you'd wasted 5 to 10 minutes in that user experience. So if you had a preview layer, and the preview layer being a textual summary, it could give you far more information than just having a picture of the web page or a screenshot, because you can't get any relevance from that.
And Sumly still exists?
Sumly, Yahoo acquired Sumly about 8 months ago in April.
Shut it down?
Well, we shut down the product to then relaunch it 2 weeks later into the Yahoo application, which is currently available in the US store, and it's the #1 news app in the category. And so in that application, the Sumly algorithm is producing summaries for that content. And so
how do I get it?
It's you have to US App Store. It's a free app, just called Yahoo.
You just download Yahoo?
Yeah, it's called the Yahoo app.
The Yahoo app.
Within the Yahoo app, the Sumly summaries are all there. And so the technology, and that was, the acquisition happened in late March, and within 2 weeks of that acquisition, we actually shipped out that initial version of the product with the Sumly summaries pumping away. So that was a great start for our integration into Yahoo, and now we're looking to do some other things next year.
But back up a little. When did you start Sumly?
I started Sumly, well, back then I was 15, and I was just kind of in high school, and I created this iPhone app called Trim It in the summer holidays.
That was 3 years ago?
Yeah, exactly, coming up to 3 years ago, just as a hobby, something I always used to just do iPhone apps in the summer holidays.
As a hobby?
As a hobby. Well, the problem was the quality of the apps wasn't very good to start with, because the very first app I did was this app called Fingermill, which was like a treadmill for your fingers, and it had like 1-star reviews, and I made it free, and then I slowly was progressing in terms of learning until I was able to do this demo app called Trim It. And about a month into that, this was in summer of 2011, I got an email from these Li Ka-shing investors in Hong Kong who thought it was a proper London-based summarization company, not just me in my bedroom. And they actually reached out to looking into and to invest in the company. And that's when I realized, actually, there could be something here. So I went back to school, but I began talking to these investors, and then they invested $300,000 after they flew out and met me and my parents, made sure it was legitimate.
They met your parents?
They met my parents. They made sure, because they were like, who's this kid? We want to make sure. They had to actually get like legal permission, because they were my guardian and my guardians and everything. So it was all done properly. And they decided to invest $200,000 seed to get it all going. That's kind of,
that's it. So now you're full-time for Yahoo, or you still go to college?
I'm full-time for Yahoo, but on the side of what I do at Yahoo, I am completing my final year of school. So I'm doing my kind of A-level UK exams in the summer.
You could do the opposite, right?
Full-time school with Yahoo. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I get to do. I actually find there's a nice relationship in that I'm studying at school things like maths and not computer science, but it's the hardcore mathematics, and like that actually helps with what I'm doing at Yahoo. So there is a bit of a synergy.
Are you sure?
Well, that's how I justify it to myself. I'm like, there's a bit of a synergy, and it's okay.
Does it feel like lost time? No.
No. To be fair, I feel like for a sense of completion. For me as a person, like I just want to complete my schooling, kind of just is for as long as I can, kind of finish my exams, maybe think about university, because I actually find that when I go back to school, I'm just with my friends, I'm just in my school uniform. It's a really nice environment, and it's fun. And so, like, for as long as I can, to have both, it'd be great.
And how much did you sell Samly to Marisa for?
Well, that's not publicly disclosed.
Come on, it's everywhere. What was it, $40 million?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I can't disclose the right sum. What I can say though is
Maybe
I think
Google it. Oh, yeah.
to see what happens.
I thought it was public, actually.
No, it's genuinely not public. But what I can say it was, it was an acquisition in terms of the talent, the team of people, but then also the IP. So that's why it was important for us to integrate that technology initially, because we did want people to be benefiting from the summarization tech.
$30 million.
I can't say.
No, but it's everywhere.
I don't know. I can't.
And this is Kara Swisher, by the way. This is no, these are
maybe not.
serious sources.
I don't know. I can't say. I can't say it. So that's the way it was. But as I was saying, look, it's the technology that matters, not the price. And
how much did you get yourself?
Again, I can't say. It's not disclosed either. But look, but here's the thing: like, you're focusing on these things, and that's fine. But for me,
I'm not.
No. Look, but for me, anyway, like the enjoyment.
I like your shoes, by the way.
Thank
Those
you.
are cool shoes.
No. The enjoyment I had.
Pink and blue. That's totally.
The London Olympic color. They're the Olympic colors in London.
So what does it do to you to suddenly so you were 17 when you sold?
Yeah, 17.
17, and you make $30 million.
Well, I can't say what I made, but what I can say is that, look, I found the last 9 months at Yahoo to be really enjoyable because I didn't know what to expect. Like, it is my first full-time job technically. So, I was the founder of Samly, I was in charge of that, but this is my first job, and I've really enjoyed being in the mobile team because there's genuinely a lot of innovation coming out of Yahoo. I mean, if you look at the weather app, for example, that got an Apple Design Award, and that really is a high precedent.
There are very few 17 years old that build a startup and sell it for $30 million, right? That must be something happening in your head, which is kind of interesting.
I'll answer the first part of the question. The first part of the question, look, I find it's been a great opportunity. When we first started thinking about what we were going to do with Samly, I was like, at the end of the day, I want to see this technology integrated into as many different places as possible. And when we began
you screwed up.
No, because when we began talking to Yahoo, it became clear that we could actually integrate that technology within 2 weeks, have it on the one of the most downloaded iPhone apps in the news category.
No, but I mean, you could have it on Google and on Twitter. Michael was just there, and I don't know.
No, I mean, there's obviously a lot of opportunities for where you could integrate a technology like summarization and specifically like Samly's. The reason that I was attracted to Yahoo, though, was because of this kind of mobile-first initiative they have there now. In the last...
You sound very corporate already.
It's not corporate.
I was attracted to Yahoo. Come on.
No, I was. Look, we spoke to people.
You could say you are attracted to Marisa. I would totally get that. No, I mean, not personally. Marisa, who is a good friend, by the way, so I would never do that kind of joke. Oh, Mike.
What's going on?
Yeah, I meant her as a CEO. It's very attractive, and then she brings a lot of amazing people into Yahoo that were not working for Yahoo before, right? So
it's been great and there's a lot of there's been a lot of startups that have been acquired in the last 12 months, and there really is this nice culture at Yahoo where even internally there's this entrepreneurial element. So like when we're all working on our products and everything else, it still feels like we're startups in a way. And I love that because the last thing I would have wanted was to have gone into an environment where you're kind of given this little siloed thing and that's all you get to work on, and it's very hierarchical and there's all this bureaucracy. Actually, instead, it's the opposite. There's a lot of ideas and innovation and people are trying things. So it's really fun.
And so what is your role now?
I'm a product manager. So
right, there are many.
Yeah, so I'm product manager on the Samly technologies. So,
so you're still doing
I'm still working on the Samly stuff. So we've done this initial integration. It's been very successful. Launched into the Yahoo app. That's been out for about 8-9 months.
What's next?
What's next? Look, we want to take this notion of summarization, right? So the idea of taking lots of information and condensing it, but see how far we can take that. So that could include things like multimedia. That could include, why just summarize news? You could summarize information in general and knowledge. And like the thing that I found in the whole Samly experience was I was loving the idea of teaching myself things outside of school. So, I would go on Wikipedia, I'd type in something, and I would just learn. And I think a lot of that experience is due to the summarized nature of, like, if you compare Wikipedia to a book, it's far easier to just understand the information when it's in this succinct form. And so imagine if you took that to just knowledge in general. So it made it far easier or more accessible for people to consume news or information that otherwise they would think is too difficult for them or they don't want to know about. And so we're trying to think about all these ideas. And again, the good thing with Summary is it was always automated and algorithmic. And we stick by this as a notion of, we want to improve the algorithm as much as we can.
Can you tell me about Yahoo? Where is it going? I have a really high trust in Marissa, and it's very impressive what she's been doing. But where is it going?
Look, I think Yahoo...
Compared to Google and Facebook, like, for example, very little social right now at Yahoo.
For me personally, anyway, like my opinion, Yahoo's all about this personalization. Yahoo has one of the largest corpora of information and content and news and information and mail and weather, all these Flickr, all these properties. And we have so much content that if we can figure out the way in which we can algorithmically personalize it and cater it to you as a user, Yahoo should be your first place on the web.
Well, that's Summary.
No. The personalization element is
I see.
Summary was just the summarization, and the way I see it is the summarization is just a nice little layer on the top.
Right.
But the core underneath all of this is this idea of personalization. And
that's the whole Yahoo.
Well, that's what Marissa said this in the past. We want to see people taking experiences like news, like information, like mail, like photos, and personalizing them because we have this information on what you as a user might want. And that's a really nice thing to have because a lot of the time wasted, especially when it comes to mobile, where you have a small screen real estate, is people just faffing about trying to find what they want. And so if you could be more efficient in suggesting pieces of content to a user, I think that can greatly improve the experience. So that's one area. And the other area is just beautiful mobile experiences. So we're continuing to launch new iPhone applications, Android applications. The most recent was Yahoo Finance a few weeks ago, where we're trying to basically take a vertical or a category on the App Store and build a best-in-class app for that. And so I think that's been a really fun iterative process because over time, we can continue to improve those products based on user feedback, tweak them, try out different things, and see where it goes.
How do you fix social at Yahoo?
Well, the
only social product is what? Is Flickr?
Flickr's doing very well. I think it depends how you define social. So for me, social would also incorporate the idea of personalization and the fact you can see my social feeds, you can see Twitter, you can see Facebook, give me content that's relevant to you.
You see your friends still, right?
I see my friends, yeah.
Your 18-year-old friends.
Yes, I see my 18-year-old friends.
What do they use to post? They use Facebook, Snapchat?
Snapchat, to be honest, yes, Snapchat has been something recently, and this other app.
Your friends use Snapchat?
A lot of my friends use Snapchat.
Do you use Snapchat?
I use Snapchat. I definitely use Snapchat.
Do you think it's a trend, it's a fashion, or do you think, would you buy it for 4 billion? Because it's, the rumor, the word is that it was 3 billion from Facebook, the offer, but there's another one from Google at 4 billion.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Here's the thing with Snapchat.
Would you tell Marissa you should buy it for 4, 5?
No. Look, the thing that I find with Snapchat that's really good is if you think about when we're having a conversation, in an hour's time, just naturally because of your memory curve, you'll forget 50% of it. And in 24 hours' time, you might only remember 5% of what we discussed.
Yeah. No.
And that is being replicated on a digital medium. And I just love this because if you look at something like the current social networks, the current platforms, everything's permanent. But permanency isn't natural to human behavior. When I say something to you, you might not necessarily forget it unless you were video recording or tape recording me. And so if you think about it as a natural human behavior, then I think this idea of transiency and disappearing content is going to last. Because it's really interesting. We're mimicking what we do in real life, and for 15 years on the web, everything's been indexed and archived. But Snapchat seems to be kind of the first idea that's going back to the original human communication, which is when we talk, we forget things later on. And unless you are wearing a Google Glass or unless you are writing it all down or videoing me.
Unless you're like Scobble.
Yeah, right. Well, you're
Fortunately, we're not all like Scobble.
Well, so that's good. So I think there is definitely something interesting. I think there's something, yes. I think there's something. I don't know if it's Snapchat as the product. I don't know if it's video and photo messaging. But I think if you take it, abstract it a step further to just transiency and disappearing content, there seems to be something natural in that.
But so look at the example of what we're doing with LeWeb. We are publishing this live right now.
Right.
And we're going to post it on YouTube as well. And some people will enjoy to have your comments on Snapchat in a few days or in a few months, sometimes years after the video goes up because there's something in it. So there is a value to keeping it.
There's definitely a value for permanency as long as I want this to be permanent. So like if I'm doing an interview where on stage, like I'm aware of the setup, I'm aware I can be on YouTube and everything else. But like if I'm sending a text message to my friend and it's in the moment, right? It's something that I don't necessarily want someone in 5 years reading back to me, then I think there definitely is a different form of communication. I mean, it's always been the case in normal human interaction. You have private conversations, and then you have conversations socially amongst peers where you're okay in being quoted, you're okay in being like on the record, so to speak. But there are so many private interactions with kind of, I guess, family members, friends, or even work colleagues where you wouldn't necessarily want that ever to be permanent or come back to you later on, so to speak. And so I think there definitely is this massive gap of information. And like I remember a few years ago, people used to take Facebook chats, copy and paste them, and like take or screenshot them and take photos of them or whatever and share them on your feed and go, oh, look what this person said. So there definitely has been this issue of people getting caught out or whatever with what they say on these mediums. So I like the idea of transiency.
If you're not a product manager for Yahoo, what would you be building right now?
It's like, if you take all the Yahoo stuff completely out of it and all the Summary stuff and everything else, forget about that. I mean, I love, this idea of self-learning.
Self-learning.
Yeah, teaching yourself things online. And like, there's been a lot of startups and now big companies around the idea of MOOCs and online courses, and there's Coursera, and there's these great companies.
A lot of them.
And
you think it's not there still?
Well, the problem is it's the user experience, right? If you want me to sit through 9 hours of video for me to learn a concept, and let's say I want to only get the content in lecture 7, I only care about that. But to get to that piece of information, I have to watch lectures 1 to 6 to understand what the hell is being spoken about. That can be quite a long process. It's arduous. It's confusing. But what happens if I just want to know about something quite complex, but immediately? Like, how do you do that? How do you go about doing that? And similarly, the problem is, there are young people who are like 12, 13 who just want to learn everything. It's amazing what the internet has. But the knowledge of Wikipedia and Coursera and these topics is still above their heads. It's kind of undergrad, it's postgrad. And so just trying to make accessibility of knowledge really easy and fun is a dream.
Seems like an obsession for you.
Yeah, I love knowledge, and like reading a book's really fun, and there's something in it still for like newspapers and books, like the physical medium as opposed to digital. But having said that, there's so much more you can do digitally to make the experience engaging and fun. That could be exciting.
I see we have mics around. If anyone has a question for Nick, just think about it. I'll ask back in a second, in a minute. I have another one for you. How do you think we have more Nicks? Like we have more people your age starting businesses. It's amazing. We need. I don't know. I bet you agree with that, right? Even like not thinking about, I think we would do much better if we were not thinking about joining businesses, how to find a job, but how to create your own. That would be ideal. You just created your own and some more. You've just put yourself in a good position for life, apparently. But how do we have more of you?
I think it really comes down to like the education, it's the schooling, and it's not really like you need to be taught at school. This is how entrepreneurship works. This is how you code. You don't need the like practical skills necessarily to be taught in normal classes, but you need to just have the awareness raised because. Like at my school, for example, although we had ICT, I never put 2 and 2 together and thought I could have a job here or I could create a company. They didn't really talk about entrepreneurship as being something that you should look up to necessarily.
So you think that's not good?
I don't think that's there yet. In most schools today, you don't really get taught about this idea of starting a company is just as good as joining a company.
But
it's all about.
Shouldn't we do it?
We definitely should. That's my point. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And then learn coding, I guess, is next?
Learning coding is definitely an important step, but I don't think it's a necessary condition for this. Like, there's a lot of founders who don't necessarily need to be 100% technical, but as long as they have the idea and the most important thing for me is just the determination, like the drive, like no matter what.
Yeah, you seem to have a crazy drive.
Well, I don't know, but like I admire people who have that because it's inspiring, and also that's what you really need at the end of the day. And so I think if at schools they were like, look, although it's great to kind of go to university so you can get a degree, which is good for a CV, which is good for a job, because it is, that's all good. There's also this alternate route, which is you can also try something, and if it fails, it doesn't matter at all. Like, it's a great learning experience. And I think the failure thing as well is a bit taboo still to talk about.
In Europe, because you're from the UK, the same all around Europe, you would say, right?
Yes, absolutely. So it's still a bit of a taboo there. And
if you're in government, what would you do? You're in government in your country or in France, what would you do?
I mean, I think, well, this is what they've done in the UK, like the Secretary of Education, Michael Gove, they've announced in ICT lessons, they're going to start talking about iPhone programming.
Oh, so you help the government there?
I haven't personally helped, but that's happening. There is this initiative now where they're going to kind of weave into the curriculum this kind of raising awareness to iPhone programming and everything else. But I think if I had that position,
yeah.
I would try and...
If we vote Nick and Nick gets elected, what are the first things you do?
So just from the education perspective, I think making entrepreneurship just become more attractive. So whether that's through tax reliefs or whatever, just to encourage people who are adults to actually start a business because there's less risk associated to it. Or maybe it's, and this is what they have done, again, like tax reliefs in terms of angel investing to pump capital into the economy because you need the initial guys who are going to take risks on you to get a company going. And then I think also just for people my age at school and everything else, it's making entrepreneurship, and not just like technical entrepreneurship, but in any field, just become something attractive. Because if you look at it economically, if an entrepreneur becomes successful, creates a big company, they've created a lot of value for the economy. They've attracted people to come from abroad, kind of high caliber talent, but then also just economically in terms of money, they've made a lot of money, and if the company then goes public, etc. So I think that's something that needs to be in all schools across the world. Just go out and try it. And if it doesn't work, try something again.
Question for Nick? There is one here, if we have a microphone, right there. And while the microphone is reaching you, the next up is a Bitcoin panel. What do you think about Bitcoin? Right here. Right here. The next is Bitcoin panel. What do you think about Bitcoin?
I think it's really interesting. I don't know much about it, to be honest. So I haven't...
So you should stay for the panel.
I'm going to stay for the panel. I don't want to be on the panel because I don't know anything about it, but I'll be watching. I mean, I think it's a really interesting idea. The decentralization is what I like about it, and the fact that, it's literally the ability for anyone to be sharing...
Not controlled by the government.
That's interesting. It's interesting.
Not controlled by banks.
Not controlled by anything. It's like it has a life of its own, and you can see that in the way the price is constantly fluctuating. Like no one controls it. It's like no one has to...
It's a tall bubble on its own, right?
Who knows? I mean, that's what you would have said 20 years ago. You might have said about the web or anything else. Like it's just the early days. This idea of cryptocurrencies in general, though, I think there will be eventually it'll become a big thing. So it's definitely at the forefront of this currency innovation. So I don't know much about it, but
do you buy Bitcoin?
I don't buy Bitcoin. No, I don't. But I'm interested in it just from a just looking at it because it'd be really interesting to see in 5-10 years time what happened.
Hey, my name is Anita Vadavata with A Total Disruption and Women at the Frontier. Since you're an amazing entrepreneur and awesome, by the way, you're incredible.
He's too humble.
Yeah,
This guy is, you had the cover of Time magazine or something.
No, that's not
I think you should become a poster child for your generation. I think you're just
it's
incredible.
amazing.
And you should be one of those top 100 time whatever influencers for a whole generation.
He had a ton of PR.
Yeah.
Trust me, so humble. I should have it on the screen.
Yes.
It's inspiring how humble you are.
So my question to you is, of course, you're an avid entrepreneur, no doubt. You're constantly thinking about ideas and then creating the ideas into taking it somewhere else. What do you think about investing? Do you ever become an investor? Are you investing already with the money you made? And would you rather look at investing the angel list, the crowdsourced model, or you look at the more traditional VC model? What are your thoughts?
Love it. 18 years old business angel. Sure.
I mean, first off, I'd say, with doing Sumly, it was so crucial for me to have angel investors and kind of mentors and individuals. So as opposed to this crowdsourcing model, like individuals I built a relationship with, so that when it was going badly, I had people I could call up and have a genuine, frank conversation about who knew everything that was happening internally. Because that's the risk that if you have this kind of crowdsource model where you're able to raise a lot of capital, but when it really is going badly, who knows the true status of what's happening internally, other than the few founders and the people in the team? You need people who are keeping kind of an eye on you and help mentoring you through that process. So I really enjoyed that. In terms of me investing and everything else, no, I haven't really done any investment yet. I mean, it's something in the future I'd like to do. I mean, right now, I'm working on Yahoo, and then in the future I'd love to do another company, and that's my goal long term.
Still on
I don't know where. Like I don't. I
You
actually
seem obsessed by
I am
this stuff.
obsessed by knowledge and information, and there's a fairly decent chance it could be in that area. But like right now, I still have that desire. Like,
Do you regret selling the company?
no, not at all. It's been like the last 9 months have been really fun because I've learned so much. That's the thing. Like the learning experience that I've had at Yahoo has been just as much in terms of from nothing to a lot than it was starting Sunly.
It's your internship.
No, I wouldn't call it that. I mean, I have to work. It's hard. There's a lot of work.
I know, but I have an 18-year-old son, and he's doing, he's going to do his first internship at 18 years old. So it's interesting what kind
It's
of
my
internship.
first job. Yeah, it's first job.
Yes, no, I know.
Definitely. So it's
So
hard.
you're going to start your company next, when?
I have no idea. I'm enjoying my time at Yahoo. I still want to do a lot of stuff there. But, in talking long-term stuff, in the future, if anything, it wouldn't be me investing, but I'd love to help advise or mentor, because when you're doing that, you're also learning, right?
Yeah.
And that's as long as you keep trying to learn from others, I think.
Will you self-finance your next business, or will you get outside capital?
I think it's genuinely.
Or Kickstarter.
I think Kickstarter's great. I think AngelList is great. There's so many others, exactly. There's a whole industry of these things. I think it's important, though, to get outside capital just because...
There is even one that even you can buy the individual. I would totally buy some Nick Deloiseau shares right now.
I wouldn't do that. The thing is, though, is that I think it's important to raise external capital at a certain level because it puts you, it keeps you in check. It keeps you, in reality, it keeps you on the ground, and like they have their own agenda, and as long as it's aligned with yours,
you can get fired too.
You can get fired. I think it's important to have that risk and the danger associated with it because it keeps you from being complacent. Because let's say you were in this interesting scenario where you were the founder, you had your founding team, and then you had this distance with all other capital, or it was all your own money, then that's where I think things can get a bit hard because you don't have external people at a board meeting who are putting you in line and going, no, that's bad, or no, that's wrong. So I think that would be a nice environment to have eventually.
Nick, I'm very impressed, really.
Thank you.
It's amazing. We'll be following you very closely. I hope you come back.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for being such an inspiration.
Thank you.
Especially for Europe, where, we're always like, but, in Europe, this and that, and this is amazing. So
thank you.
Keep being an inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You'll be around?
I'll be around for the rest of the week. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Great. Thank you.